Sometimes I think this is a great time to be homeschooling because there are so many options out there. But other times I think this is a really tricky time to be homeschooling because there are so many options out there. If you're like me, you just want something simple, something that helps to build your family connection and to instill a love of learning in your kids, then I want to tell you about the morning basket. Welcome to the Morning Basket Music channel. I'm Leanne, a homeschool mom of 2 kids and a music educator. I've taught in public schools, homeschool co-ops, as well as private lessons. But my number one job and best job of all is being a mom and raising 2 beautiful little humans, although they're not so little anymore. This year, I will have a rising 4th grader and 6th grader. Today, I'm going to share with you about a widely used tool in many homeschooling families called the morning basket. Now, maybe you're here as a brand new homeschooler or someone who's just considering how to start, or maybe you're several years into your homeschooling journey and you're here for some fresh ideas and ways to implement new learning routines in your homeschool. Either way, I'm so glad that you're here. This video will be broken into 3 parts. What is a morning basket? Why do people use them in homeschool? And how do they adapt to different homeschooling styles and stages? The morning basket is a tool, a rhythm, not a specific product or curriculum. For some people, the morning basket is actually a physical basket to keep materials in. But for other families, it just means where everyone gathers together, whether it be the kitchen table or the living room couch, but they all gather to learn something as a family. And most importantly, it is a time of togetherness. Whether or not you choose to use an actual basket, I do recommend having a physical space where you keep all of your materials together. First, I think it just helps mom be able to stay better organized and not be looking around scrambling for materials. And I also think it provides a good visual cue for your kids that they know this special family time of learning is about to begin. You also might consider stacking your morning basket with another daily habit that you already have. That could be morning time chores, or in my family, we like to pair it together with morning snack time. The amount of time you spend on morning basket will vary depending on your homeschooling style and the stage that you're in. More on that in part 3. For my family, as we're approaching the middle school ages, morning basket typically lasts around 30 minutes or so, and we do this always before we begin our independent subjects. The morning basket should promote family connection. So, why do moms often include this tool in their homeschool? Well, first of all, it's very efficient, especially if you are teaching multiple ages at the same time, which I would guess many of you are. It also helps to promote a strong family connection, and as a bonus, it can help you include other subjects that often get left out of your regular homeschool day. Activities in the morning basket can help create parent-child and sibling bonds. Most kids don't really have fond memories based off of a math lesson, just being honest, but they will remember the things that bonded them together as a family that were a shared experience. Here's a good example from my family from last year. We had the incredible opportunity to travel to Spain last year, and as we prepared for the upcoming trip, we wanted to learn some of the basic Spanish phrases. But rather than just taking a Spanish curriculum and shoving it in their faces and saying, here kids, you learn this, we included it as part of our morning basket. So it would start as us practicing together in the morning, and then we would continue that throughout the day. So that was one of our greatest family memories. But for you, it does not have to be something really extravagant. Maybe you are planning an upcoming field trip to the zoo, and so everyone in the family can learn about some of the animals that you'll be observing there. But even just something as simple as a family read aloud can create family connections, because engaging stories have this way of promoting a shared experience between family members, even if it just happens in our imaginations, and it can also lead to some really great, rich discussions. Morning basket is often a time that people will include other subjects outside of the main four that would otherwise be left out of their homeschool day. I think this is great. First, because it takes some of the pressure off of moms. For example, say I can't commit an entire semester to studying art, but for the next month or so, we're going to be sure to include art activities as part of our basket. And second, I think it really allows for more interest-led learning from your children. Here's my disclaimer before we start getting into the how part of this video. If you spend any amount of time on YouTube watching other homeschool mom channels, you will find 1,000 different videos where people are sharing, here's what's in our morning basket for this school year. And listen, those are great, and I watch several of them all the time because they can be a really great way to learn about resources that you didn't even know existed. But I do want to caution you. Keep your family and your homeschool vision in mind before you just run out and purchase something because such and such mom is doing it and it looks really great. You know your kids best, and you get to decide what will be the best thing to instill a love of learning in your home. The morning basket adapts to your homeschool style and should grow with your family. When I first started researching morning baskets and how people use them, it kind of came across as mainly a Charlotte Mason thing. And it does make sense, especially when you think about her principle of using living books to teach children. But I want to spend the next few minutes making a case about how the morning basket can literally be adapted to fit any homeschooling style. As a side note, if you're unsure of what your homeschooling style is, or you just want to learn more about the different styles and what characterizes each one, check out the video description below where I've linked several resources that can help you explore this further, included in a morning basket for different homeschool families. Let me run through some different examples and provide you with a list of ideas. If you lean towards a more traditional style, you might want to include things like flashcards, games that work on specific skills, a read aloud followed up with comprehension questions, or even a family novel study. Families who follow a classical education might include timelines, memory work, vocabulary games, poetry recitation, or fairy tales and fables. If you're a Charlotte Mason homeschooler, you might include things like nature journals or a poetry book, a read aloud for narration, artist study, composer study, hymns, or even handcrafts can go in the morning basket. Now, unschooling. This is a tricky one. Can even unschoolers use a morning basket? Absolutely. A big part of unschooling is following your child's interests and kind of following their lead as you explore different things. So if your child expresses an interest in creating their own video games or learning how to draw a specific subject, then you follow their lead, and these are great things that you can include in your morning basket. And finally, let's not forget about eclectic homeschoolers like myself. We tend to choose little bits and pieces of different styles and put them all together. So our morning basket will include several things such as unit studies on a certain topic, even perhaps a foreign language, music and art activities, or a devotional book, even a game that we just want to learn together. And most importantly, with all the different homeschooling styles, are read-alouds. Read-alouds really are like the heartbeat of a good morning basket, which leads me into how a morning basket can grow with the ages of your kids. When you are just starting out and have really little kids, babies, toddlers crawling all over, preschoolers, you want to start the morning basket very simple and keep it short, just long enough to hold their attention span but not to overwhelm them. Please learn from my own mistakes. When my first child turned 5 years old and I assumed he was ready for school, I was ready to do all of the things, but we often try to push too much on them too soon. So here's a suggestion. If you're excited to start school and you've already gone out and purchased a bunch of different materials, consider putting just a few different activities in your morning basket and see what your child is interested in without any particular expectations. Here's a term that's often used in unschooling called strewing. This is where the parent will take whatever resource or material and leave it out where the child can find it and explore it. But again, there are no expectations with how they're going to use it or their interest level. Here's the bottom line. When your kids are really young, start simple, keep it short, and use it as a way to start building a daily learning routine. Now, moving on into the middle school and high school years, even though I'm not quite there yet with my own kids, one of the things that I am really looking forward to in our morning time is some of the rich, deep, thoughtful conversations that we can have about different subjects. And I already have experienced that a little bit as my kids have gotten older and they've matured. They're developing their own personalities, and some of the things that we discuss, they can ask some really deep, meaningful questions. For a while, we had a morning routine of watching a short news segment that was meant for kids on YouTube, and it gave us a chance to discuss some of the current events going on in the world, and I always love to hear my kids' questions and their insights about things. So I can only imagine how this will continue to develop, and this back and forth dialogue will get even richer as they grow older. Plus, how cool would it be if you had a high schooler that was used to doing the morning basket time and they took it upon themselves to teach you, mom, something during the morning basket? There's one more benefit that I want to discuss about using a morning basket with multiple ages. Now, I myself only have 2 kids and they're fairly close in age, so I can't speak from my own experience, but what I do hear oftentimes from moms with much larger families and a bigger age range is that it's really cool in the morning time to see how the older ones will jump in and start helping out teaching the younger kids. So here are the benefits that I see around using a morning basket with multiple ages, which is how it was intended for the whole family. First, the younger siblings are going to absorb so much just by being around during this time. It helps them feel included, and even when you think maybe they're not listening or they're not really getting much out of it, I promise you they are. Second, older kids can be a great model for the younger ones, and you can help them develop some confidence in giving them more of a leadership role. Maybe assign them an entire week to do the read-alouds for your family. Plus, it's going to take some of the work off your plate, Mom. Remember that whoever you are teaching at home and whatever goes in your morning basket, it is all about having a shared experience and a familiar routine to start your homeschool day. As a teaser for next time, I believe music is one of the best things to include in your homeschool because my background is in music education, and I think it's the perfect subject to study in your morning basket, hence the name Morning Basket Music. So I hope you'll join me next week as we talk about various ways to make music a regular part of your homeschool routine. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more encouraging homeschool content. Thanks so much for being here.